America, the same people who won't let their kids eat Halloween candy from strangers will hand over every keystroke, location ping, and even medical records to a foreign country on some phone app because we've become too lazy to read. And hey, the dance challenges are fun. Welcome back to Cybercrime Junkies. Today we've got former FBI agent Darren Mott, a former high school teacher turned cybersecurity educator and author, joining us to talk about two massive security stories that should be keeping us all up at night. TikTok's sale to U.S. buyers, and the newly discovered evidence showing proof of how it doesn't solve the security problem at all, and the explosion of AI-powered social engineering, now undetectable by the human eye, basically leading the charge to become the poster child of business email compromise and romance scam factories running on autopilot. We're even throwing in a rant about podcast equipment setups because apparently even former prosecutors and FBI agents want to throw technology through the walls on any given Saturday morning. So join us. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show. All right, well, welcome everybody to Cybercrime Junkies. I am your host, David Morrow, and in the studio today is a friend of the show, a fellow podcaster, author of a fantastic book that business leaders should get called Get Cyber Smart, former FBI agent, former high school teacher, and a all-around great guy. Darren Mott joins us. Sir, Mr. Mott, welcome to the studio.
Dave, thanks. It's always a pleasure to be here and talk to you because you always have good questions and good research. You're a research expert, so that's why I appreciate coming on here. And I like having questions made to me as opposed to me having to come up with the questions and do all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, that would not be much of an interview if I was like, what do you want to talk about? Like, and you're like, well, how about this? Why don't you ask me this? Yeah, no. So you've been on several times. We talked about a whole bunch of different things, but, you know, a couple things really caught us over the last couple months. And one is the acquisition, the merger of the purchase from U.S. entities allegedly about TikTok, and then some, you know, all of the developments in AI. Because I don't think you've been on since really AI has exploded into the malt-book social network thing that we've had. So let's talk about the TikTok thing first. So when ByteDance, let's back up for everybody. So a little refresh of some things that you taught me. When ByteDance first purchased or first launched TikTok for the US, what were the intelligence community's like first concerns? Like, what in your experience, like what was some of the first things that you're like, this isn't right, this is different type of social media?
Well, I think the problem is, and I will say, as you're aware of, this is my big hobby horse on LinkedIn. If I have several things I talk about,
you call yourself the town crier about TikTok.
Right, on this, right. And postmortems for data breaches would be great, but that's a different topic for a different conversation. But as far as TikTok goes, I think like all technology, it took a while for anyone to really recognize the nefariousness behind what they were doing, because it was kind of new and it took a while to really explode. And it was really kids at first, right? It was focused on kids doing dance videos. And I remember
Ice Challenge, all that when it first came out. I remember all that.
I remember the first time I ever saw it had to be 7-8 years ago, even maybe longer. I was at my parents' house in upstate New York. It was a family like reunion. And two of my niece and my nephew were out on the deck dancing in front of the phone. I'm like, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
They're doing a TikTok dance. I go, what is a TikTok?
What is that? Yeah,
I haven't even paid attention. Now, I was in the FBI at the time, so I wasn't as socially media conscious as I am today now being out of the FBI. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. And then it started to explode. I started paying attention to it. And then the national security industry, I guess, started looking at this as, hey, this is a Chinese platform. What do we need to worry ourselves about? And I think it took a while before anyone actually dove into the code and all the different trackers that when you download TikTok, you're not just downloading TikTok, you're downloading all sorts of trackers that go onto your phone that their user agreement you agree to that allows them to take keyboard shots if they want, and look at your images and do all those things.
Let's hone in on that just a second. So I want to show dance videos on my phone, right, and record them. What I don't realize, and what most Americans didn't realize, is even the initial terms and conditions that we accepted said all of your keystrokes on that phone, even in other apps when TikTok is closed, is recorded and sent to them and kept in Chinese servers. Is that correct? Like
right. That is correct. Now they will probably argue now that, well, we may have been that way at first, but we've changed the way we do it. And I mean, I remember,
and why not trust the Chinese?
Right. That's the key thing, right? The first thing we need to, if nothing else, if no one gets anything else out of our conversation here, we cannot trust the Chinese.
Well, here, let's be clear. It's not the Chinese people. It's
Correct.
not Chinese. It's not China. It's not that. It's the CCCP. Like it's the Chinese Communist Party. That is what we're talking about, right?
Right. That's a perfect point. I don't do a good job of explaining it that way because because I have Chinese friends and they're like, "What are you upset with us?" I'm like, "No, I like you moved here because of them." Like they're like, "Yeah, exactly." Then they're like, "Then say the CCP," and I'm like, "All right, I'll make right." Well, for me, for like 25 years, that's when we refer to China, we're talking Chinese. We're talking China, the government of China. We're talking government of China, and so it's muscle memory for me, right?
Right, exactly.
But yes, the government of China we cannot trust.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I remember at a cyber conference in 2015.
Yeah,
10, 11 years ago, there was a conversation with somebody from the administration saying, well, we don't have to worry about this threat as much anymore because President Xi promised President Obama they would not hack the U.S. anymore and steal intellectual property. Everybody in the room, I don't know if we said, can I swear on this? Can I curse on this podcast or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was said, that's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
Who believes that?
It is. Right.
Because, I mean, let's be honest, one of my other big statements is politicians all suck. So they're all idiots and they don't know any better because they don't want to know any better. But
as demonstrated daily.
Yeah, right.
As we have living proof of daily on both sides.
But so now as we notice, as people dug into TikTok deeper, researchers dug into it, national security experts dug into it, they said, hey, not only is it capturing your keystrokes, but it's capturing your location data.
Right.
So
medical data, yeah. Like a lot of people have their health data, like on their iPhone, right? It tracks all that. They all have that. No.
Right. And the big problem
most people don't realize that.
Right. From a national security perspective, there's several issues here that people don't realize. Like if people in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or whatever have TikTok on their phone, because obviously there's a lot of young people in the military and they're walking around their bases, all that locational data is going back to China. They can then map out what does this base look like? What are they? I know where the barracks are because at 2 a.m. in the morning, this is where they all are. So the barracks are here. Clearly, we can kind of draw that out. We can get satellite image. So it's an intelligence collection platform. Now, look, if you're a bakery owner and you're doing, here's how to make my cupcakes on TikTok, your risk from any kind of
you're going
issue,
into a different file on the server. They're
yes,
putting you in a different file. They're like, just in case we need to invade that street someday, they may want to know what your bakery looks like. But in general, you're not the target, right?
Right. That cupcake recipe looks great. Let's steal it now.
Yeah,
but they're not doing that right away.
Right.
But if comes back and you're a military guy, they're going to pay attention to everything your phone does, which is why the government said you can't have TikTok on government devices anymore. Now the problem is government devices. We all own personal devices, so you can't extrapolate an executive order down to personal devices. Other than you can say you can't have personal devices in this facility, which certainly many organizations do. But how deeply is that followed or carried away from? So, and the other issue for me, as I think about,
but it's also their family members too, right?
Sure,
their family members. Like they'll know. Like when we think of insider threat, and we think of people, we recently did an episode on Robert Hansen, the FBI guy who was a huge spy. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you were there when he was there.
I was there when he was arrested.
He went to my college. I was like, what? I'm like, holy cow. I'm proud of where I went. Not that year, but the other years. But really, really, the point is they are still gathering up information on relatives of people that are involved in the military or law enforcement and things like that. So
because it's all targeting, right? It's all targeting because if they know that Johnny is in the Air Force and Johnny works on some top secret project for the Air Force,
and somebody in the family is going for cancer treatment and stuff like that, they could mention like they want to find somebody that's vulnerable, and all of that stuff. I guarantee people don't realize is sitting on China's servers, being indexed, being searched, etc.
Right. And now I remember a couple years ago, 3 years ago, when the CEO of ByteDance or TikTok, I think he was CEO of TikTok, not ByteDance, but he was in front of Congress saying, well, we have Project Texas is going to solve all these problems because all the infrastructure will be in Texas. The question he would not answer was, well, is that information then flowing back to China in some way, shape, or form? He would never answer it. Plus, but we have insiders who have said, yeah, all this stuff goes back to China.
It does.
And the other thing that people don't realize, and I've said this many times, you've heard me say it, is that there is a law, the 2017 China National Security Law, that says any company within China has to turn over any data in its possession to Chinese officials at any time asked.
Exactly. Upon request. If we ask for it, you have to, by law, give it to us.
Right. And so let's say
frightening.
Let's say 10 years ago, there's now a CIA officer who works for the CIA who 10 years ago had TikTok and was doing dance videos when they were 15. They're now 25. They're a covert officer. They're burned because China knows what they look like, knows who they are, knows what they sound like, can very easily do facial recognition so that those people can no longer work in that capacity in those particular countries. And that is an issue that is never talked about.
Right.
And so
that's exactly right.
And honestly, most of these risks are never talked. I've talked to my brothers. My brother watched it go, you shouldn't be on TikTok. It goes, why? I don't care. Okay. I mean, he's a soccer coach at a college. So really, again, he's going in the file with the bakery people,
exactly.
right? But still.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Most business leaders have a fatal flaw which results in their growth being interrupted or stopped terminally. They ignore the mountain they're about to crash into, distracted by the focus on revenue growth. Until it's too late. Don't become another fatal business statistic. Keep your cybersecurity modern so you can grow without interruption. Stay competitive. Get NetGain. Stay focused on your growth and funding. While NetGain keeps your technology always available with expert-level cybersecurity services to stop breaches in their tracks, all at a fraction of the cost of managing it yourself. Don't wait for a technology disaster to interrupt and cripple your growth. Speak with a specialist today. Contact NetGain Technologies today at 844-777-6278 or reach out online at netgainit.com. That's 844-777-6278 and netgainit.com. Grow your business uninterrupted. Contact NetGain today.
Yeah, but again, he's a relative of former law enforcement.
Correct.
And
yes.
You know what I mean? Like he's still indexed. He's going to be a little bit more, he's going to probably go in a different file than the bakery owner with the
a little bit. Yeah. He'll go in a slightly different file because he's got a relative
ancillary file to you.
Right. He's got two brothers that work for the government. So there's that.
Exactly. Two. Okay. Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah. My other brother works for the Department of Transportation. So a little lower risk, but still.
Well, infrastructure.
Exactly right.
Yeah. We both said the same thing. Yep.
And he specifically works for the railways in the Department of Transportation. So that's
very
another
important
key infrastructure area that you don't think about a lot of risk for, but how much stuff still travels by train? Quite a bit.
No,
China
a
would
lot
love
of
to know
it
that.
does. Yeah, exactly. So, and when we think of ByteDance, the corporate structure of ByteDance, right? There are people that are part of the CCP. And by the way, the CCP, for those that may not, let's do a quick history lesson. Like the CCP defined in, was it 97, 98? They redefined the definition of war, right? And they said war is information gathering. It is all mediums. It is, I forget the exact phrase. I used to have it on a PowerPoint slide when I was trying to explain this. And it's an information war. It's data point, data gathering. And, you know, you can see how TikTok plays right into that. Like it's a social engineering of the American public that we voluntarily drink the Kool-Aid with.
Well, 1999, two Chinese generals wrote a book called Unrestricted Warfare that was published worldwide. That, I mean, if you don't want to read it, go to ChatGPT and say, summarize this book for me. It'll give you all the points. It uses both. They recognize hard power is going to be hard for them, right? Actually, kinetically going after the United States, who's the world hegemonic leader, is very difficult because they just don't have the capacity. But from a soft power perspective, that's what they're doing now.
The inside.
Right. TikTok is a soft power play. I mean, in other words, it's not, tremendously damaging, but it takes a long time, and they're in it for the long haul. They're not worried about the election every 2 years. That's not their concern. They look at 5, 10-year, 15-year plans and adjust accordingly as they go, because they're looking further down the line.
It's a long war. It's exactly right. Because it's all about an ultimate goal for global power. I mean, that's right.
And TikTok's just one part of that, right? TikTok is the more publicly facing piece.
Right.
That
it's the one that everybody can relate to.
Right. And
because people have it on their phone. And
certainly our politicians spend a lot of time on it, thinking about it, trying to get it to forcing this divestiture and all this other stuff. And we certainly talk about the complexities of that and how the government screwed that up 3 ways a Sunday. But it allows their nation state cyber actors to work a lot quieter, because everybody's focused on this big TikTok is a big problem. Let's deal with this problem. Well, what about Mustang Panda? What about pick your advanced persistent threat of choice that's being run by the Ministry of State Security or the People's Liberation Army that have tens of thousands of actors that are actively infiltrating company networks today, right? And doing simple things, not even making it complicated. They're, calling the front desk and saying, I need to reset my password, or claiming to be the front desk and calling someone and say, hey, you need to reset your password. We're going to walk you through this. And then they steal your single sign-on token and have all those things. So, but you never hear that anymore. I mean, if you watch cyber news, if you go to cybernews.com or Bleeping Computer, you have a cyber news feed, you'll see some of those things. What does it change? Nobody's reacting to it. It seems like in an appropriate way.
No, because it seems like the attention spans have gone down to that of a goldfish. And so people just hang on something that they're familiar with, like TikTok.
Yeah, or, I'm sorry what happened to Samantha Guthrie's mother, right? But I've been on the news 5 times in the last 2 days talking about this case. And there's really not a lot of information about it, but the whole world is focused on it. While China and Russia and North Korea
keep going,
hack all our infrastructure.
Right, exactly. Yeah, which are doing crime at scale.
Yes.
They're doing damage and crime at scale.
And not only that, they're combining the criminal aspects with the nation state aspects now, right? Those two things are blending together and working off of each other and benefiting from each other. I actually put in a presentation request to a cybersecurity summit in Dubai to kind of talk about exactly this. I didn't see any presentation that had to do with like actual crime and stuff. So I figured I'd throw a presentation and see if they'll take it. And if they do, I'll go to Dubai and I'll give a presentation about this. But I mean, I've seen this going back to my early days in the FBI, watching how cyber has evolved from, like, even with piracy, like internet piracy was what my first big case was. And at the time it was the Ware scene. And I think we've talked about that before, but now it's all monetized. Before it wasn't monetized. Now it's monetized. It uses phone farms and all sorts of stuff. And every corner of the world is doing some kind of internet piracy that's still causing billions and billions of dollars of loss to legitimate content holders. They're also coming up with ways to modify intellectual property, like changing the speed of a song and then monetizing off of it and then doing it at scale. It's a huge problem for platform holders.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. Yeah, it's all,
a lot of that coming from China. China directed.
It's all soft power. It's just different ways to weaken America, like different ways to weaken those content creators that are building things genuinely. Yep, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about like what TikTok gathers. So everyone's worried about data collection, but TikTok's gathering somewhat the same stuff as, because I always hear this. But Zuckerberg, right? But like, I know TikTok, you guys say TikTok's dangerous, but isn't Instagram and Meta, right? Instagram and Facebook, which is Meta, which is like started by or owned now by Zuckerberg and friends. Isn't that, the same thing that TikTok's doing? It is, but it isn't, right?
Right.
I mean,
their purpose is advertising. They're looking to advertise off your information. That's all. That's kind of all they're doing. Plus, if they misuse your data, if they lose your data, let's say there's a data breach and all of your PII and all your other information that really wasn't available, they can be sued for that, right? You can sue them for that. You get them a class action lawsuit. Same thing happens in China. Who you
nothing you can do.
Yeah, nothing you can do.
That's
you do
exactly
have recourse. And again, they're using
and
Instagram and Facebook aren't generally trying to take down the United States per se. People would argue that one way or another, but still not the same way that the CCP is trying to.
No, I think they're probably just trying to monetize off of every aspect of our lives.
Capitalism,
right?
brother. Yeah, capitalism.
Yeah, exactly. Because if the app is free, you are the target or you are the product, right? Yeah. And so the data collection, though, is uniquely dangerous when it comes to TikTok, right? Like the new update right around the new year, everybody kind of got an updated terms and condition on TikTok, and everybody just, vast majority of everybody just said yes, and they downloaded it. But this went really far, didn't it? So didn't it go farther than even TikTok had been doing in the first place?
Sure. And why wouldn't they do it? Because like I said, no one's going to read it. So how much more can they grab? Because no one's going to complain. Clearly, the authors of the bill that required the divestiture of TikTok didn't look into it because I didn't hear anything saying, hey, this is why we need to do this. And I certainly didn't hear the administration saying, well, this is unacceptable. We're going to make you sell it all, as opposed to just only sell 80.1% of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the deal. So TikTok has acquired, like, it's solved now. We solved the problem. America owns TikTok now.
Mm-hmm.
Not really true, is it?
No, they own ownership in it, and they have basically leased the algorithm. They have not purchased the algorithm. They are not getting full access to be able to modify it. They are leasing it for their own. It's a franchise model, honestly. And ByteDance still owns 19.9% of it. And they still own the algorithm. They still are able to move information back to China if they want. Now, people will argue, well, no, part of the deal says it all's got to stay in the United States. All right, who's policing that? Right? Tell me how you. I've seen nothing that says here's how we're going to police it, other than they said this is what we're going to do. Okay, who's watching that? Because who's going to engineer it? Who's engineering this whole thing? It's going to be people from TikTok and ByteDance in China that will maybe get the golden visa and come over here and be able to work for the China and TikTok locally here in the U.S. But they're going to put backdoors in and ship that stuff overseas. Whether you cannot believe me, but I can almost guarantee you that in 3 years from now there'll be a whistleblower that said, "Hey, yeah, Oracle owns 80% of this, but this data is still flowing back to China. This is how it's happening. It's going to happen." Because
at the end of the day, ByteDance still has ownership. They own the algorithm and the code. Mm-hmm. Yep. They own the code. So the ability to put backdoors in rests with them in a private room, right? And it's theirs, and they are owned by, in part, members of the CCP. Right. And I'll give you the connection.
Here's an analogy. In 2005 or so, Lenovo purchased the laptop creation part of Microsoft, right? The Microsoft computers was purchased by Lenovo, a Chinese company. Because I know this because they had their main manufacturing plant or headquarters was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was a Charlotte field office agent. And we went and said, hey, shouldn't make this deal. This was a bad plan. But they said, oh, we're going to, this area of manufacturing will not be accessible by Chinese engineers. It's only U.S. people are cleared in here, all this kind of stuff. Like, okay, great. Well, what happened 4 years later? The U.S. government said we will no longer purchase Lenovo laptops. Why is that? Because certainly there's a threat and a risk there that was identified. And to this day, I would not buy a Lenovo computer.
So even then, we saw a demonstration of how it's done through backdoors. Right. Unbelievable. Soft and then wasn't there a recent finding and report on Meta and how Meta had an internal kind of fraud department, not necessarily fraud department, but organizations that were running fraudulent ads that would socially engineer people, take people's life savings, all of this, but they were paying ad revenue, and they had a watchdog internal arm, but it started and it was becoming effective over the last couple of years, but it was hurting ad revenue. And there was a meeting and they kind of dismantled that because the ad revenue was so strong. Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry. I'm not familiar. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that one. Apologies.
Okay.
So I don't know
that's
that one.
okay. That's okay. I'm diving deep into that because I want to kind of really understand that, because that to me is like, I mean, I guess it's a business decision, but like making that much money off of things that are demonstrated to hurt, your users and your customer base is pretty reckless and bordering on.
Well, it's interesting because like Meta bought WhatsApp, right? And so they own WhatsApp now, and now there's all sorts of WhatsApp issues where there use certain settings you have to turn off. Otherwise, a remote user could completely take over your
Find
profile.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable.
So, well, certainly security is not a big thing within many businesses, as we're aware.
Yes. Well, and social media, it just seems like it's being weaponized, right?
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
it is, especially Americans, but we are, not very astute to, I still see it everywhere. Like people are still taking pictures of their kids' faces online and posting it. They're still taking pictures with their backgrounds showing where they live, where they're at the moment. Like they're still taking vacations with pictures right there and then, almost real time, or they're live streaming from it, meaning you're not at home right now. Like they're sharing so much information that it's really dangerous. And I don't know if everyone is super naive or super narcissistic and they just want everybody to see them, or what the issue is, but it's just, I think it's like
a combination of those things, because I think humans by nature are generally trusting, or want to be trusting.
Right.
Most people want to be trusting. And so online, you can be more trusting because there's not that immediate feedback that you shouldn't do this. It's, hey, this is working. And then there's the dopamine where people are liking this picture. I need to do more pictures because people are liking this picture. And a lot of people just don't suffer the bad actions that happen from that for a while. And so they figure, and I've had this even with businesses are the same way, where I've been to many companies, well, we've never had a cyber incident, so why do we need to worry about that? It's kind of like saying, well, I've never had a heart attack, so why should I have my heart checked out? I don't need to go see the doctor. I've never had a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, I'm going to keep smoking and eating cheeseburgers three times a day because I haven't had a heart attack yet. Okay, but statistically, you're heading for one.
Right.
Like, pushing 400 pounds doing that, like I'm thinking statistically, it's not going to last long, right?
No. Well, it's like especially with parents, like the more information you put about your kids, the worse it is, because there are bad people looking and saying, okay, that kid, where's his profile? I can now find that because they're linked to the mother, and the parents haven't taken the methodologies to restrict that or watch it and stuff. Then you have kids target. I mean, it's a whole different threat that we're not talking about here, but certainly an issue. And, sexting and sextortion, I'm sure you've had podcasts on. It's a huge problem. 36 kids killed themselves because of sexting issues in the last 5 years. And that number is just going to go up because it's very hard to police.
Right. And it happens quickly. Like the kids that do it with sextortion, sometimes it happens within a day or two.
Yeah, because the messages now come at scale. Right.
Yeah. And it's brutal. And the advancements with AI and AI deepfake, right? I've seen examples on Telegram and things where, middle-aged man is posing as, this younger girl and befriends them, does this. And they do a psychological ploy, right, where they love bomb them and then they cut it off. And the person's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then they're like, okay, but to come back, you have to do something for me. And they convince him to do something. Now they've got the blackmail over him. And they force him to do that, saying they're going to embarrass him, etc. And these kids are like literally committing suicide or harming themselves, etc. And it's tragic. It's just brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so let's talk about ways that people and organizations, especially in the small, mid-sized organizations, the ones that don't have internal cybersecurity leaders telling them this all the time. You have published some information on like SSO tokens and the risk there, and I want to explore that. So let's first explain to people what an SSO token is. Can you do that? Like, could you explain?
I think I could try. I'm not sure how technically I'm going to get here, but I'll try to make the best point. So,
like to people that aren't technical.
Sure.
Like,
so if you have a single sign-on setup, when you log into your system at work, it creates a token on your computer that basically, when you go to an application, the token signs in for you. So you don't have to sign in every single time. You have to do it one time. Hopefully you have multi-factor authentication too, but certainly we know many companies still don't do that. But you sign in with your login and password. Hopefully your multi-factor authentication creates a token. So when you go to your next app, it automatically logs in for you. So you don't have to keep logging in. So and that token stays resident on your computer as long as you're logged in.
And a lot of people will see this. It'll either say SSO right on there, like it'll pop up, or there'll be the remember me. It'll say, remember me. It's convenient on this side, right? Like here you go. It'll save you time, but basically they hold your credentials in like a temporary state, right? And it sits there in this token, and that's where it sits.
And honestly, your browser does that by default if you don't turn it off.
Right. Exactly. And the issue is, how do people that have bad intent, how do they capture those from us? I think the same way they do everything else, right? Like social engineering, clicking on malicious ads on social media, going to sites that are not secure, even though they look like legitimate sites, clicking on links in phishing emails, things like that, right?
Yeah, it's all those things.
Yeah.
It's getting access to the device that has the token on it, right? So from a browser perspective, if I'm sitting in a coffee shop, logged into my network, and I click the wrong link, or I open an attachment and a hacker gets in and now has backdoor access to my computer, if my browser has all my single sign-ons on, or my Remember Me on, I can pull up a browser in the back end, and all those logins will now work. That's one way. The other way is, this is what Mustang Panda Chinese APT does, is they pretend to be IT and say, hey, we need to change your password. So they're credential stuffing. So they're getting you to change you think they're IT. You don't question it. You think that they're doing you the right thing. They'll get you to change the password, so now they have the password. Then they say, okay, I need you to do one more thing. I need you to confirm your MFA. So they'll send you an MFA link. You confirm it, and it confirms it for them because they're in the middle of this process. So now they have your token on their device. They now have single sign-on access to all of your stuff.
Exactly. And with that, they now can log in as you.
Yes.
And that is really what we've been seeing, a massive growth in, statistically talking, like over the last year and a half, 2 years. I mean, they're not hacking in as much as they're logging in, because logging in is so much more effective, right? And it's interesting because the FBI has issued public alerts on this. They've said, stop using Remember Me without phishing resistant multi-factor authentication, right? Like, they keep warning this, but I don't think that message is getting through.
Well, like you said, with small and medium-sized businesses, they have nobody to read that stuff and push it out. So they don't have that strategic leadership that says, we need to do these things, and this is what we need to pay attention to, right? So I think your company does fractional CISOing, right? So as do we. But again, you get into these companies, like, well, I've never had a problem. Why do I need that particular functionality? That makes no sense, because I think they see that as going to be an impediment to doing stuff, because too many people, too many companies, too many businesses, too many owners value, and I'm stealing this comment from a friend of mine, they value convenience over security.
Right. But what they don't realize is it's going to become extremely inconvenient. Right?
Yes.
It will be at the time that you expect it least. Right? Because all you have to do is talk to colleagues that have gone through it. And like, I talk to people all the time that have experienced Lockbit and Akira ransomware attacks and things like that. And they will all tell you, without any prodding from me, I never wanted to go through that again. Like, it dismantles their organization. It affects productivity. It affects morale. It affects client trust, all of that for years to come. Like, it's a real thing. It's really bad. Especially
for small and medium. Large corporations are able to kind of get around it.
They might have a bad quarter, right? They might have a bad quarter, but they'll bounce back because they're too big to die, right? But small and mid-sized businesses aren't too big to die. And that's
on that note, have you read Chase Cunningham's By the Breach?
I have not.
You should,
I have not.
So
but
you need to have him come on and talk about that, because he has done a survey. He has done a research project that basically, and this only works for large publicly traded companies, but a company gets hacked tomorrow, wait 3 days for the stock to dip, buy it. Within a year, you'll be above where they started at the breach time. So I don't have the sensor wherewithal to be able to do my own personal stock trading, but if you know how to do it, you can make money if you follow that. But just from the small, medium-sized businesses, right, they're going to go out. They're going to go out of business. I mean, I'm an expert witness on 25 data breach cases.
Wow.
Because they're constantly occurring. And these are all companies that lost PII or PHI as a result of either a Lockbit or a Black Cat or whoever. Right. And then some of these groups are not even doing the ransomware piece anymore. Right. They're just taking the data and saying, hey, here's your data. We're going to release it. I mean, the Clop site on dark web is a fascinating watch.
Oh, yeah. Well, Clop is a Russian ransomware gang, and they drove the Move It breach. It was that operated almost like DocuSign in a sense, right?
Yes.
It was transferring data, but they got in, and I think the important thing here from a high level, from non-technical sense, is if they can get tokens like this, right? Because Mrs. Buttermaker's not trained. She's clicking. She's got 27 browser tabs open, and she's clicking on links like it's an Olympic sport. Like that. If that happens, right, it's not going to, like, there's no alarms that set off. When they're able to log in as her, they can access everything she can, if not more. And they're like, it's not going to set up, your MSP is not going to know about it. Nobody in charge is going to realize this because it's authenticated.
Right.
Like, it's a legitimate use.
And you don't have anybody looking at it saying, why is this login coming from India?
Exactly.
Big companies can see that and they can block it, and they can, but again, you're small.
Because they're looking at behavior. They're looking at for those behavior anomalies.
Sure.
That's exactly right. Which is why, when we think of how AI has sped everything up, AI is fantastic. We use it every day. You do as well. But it is really, to me, it's increased the attack surface, meaning the ways that people with bad intent can attack small, mid-sized organizations has increased because of AI, for sure. The speed of it has. But it's not so much that the AI itself is going to cause the breach, but it makes the fundamentals all the more valuable, right? Like, if you don't have the ability to stop somebody from uploading all your intellectual property, and you're just staying out of the AI game, and you don't have an AI policy at your organization, you don't know that they're doing it. Like, there's a recent report that came out that said upwards of above 70% of U.S. employees are using shadow AI now. Like, they are using AI without their leadership authorizing it, controlling it, being aware of it. And that's a huge issue. That is something new. That is a new frontier of risk that I'm not even sure a lot of leaders appreciate that they are taking by staying out of AI, right? By not kind of getting in and providing governance.
Right. And from the criminal side, the cost of entry to become a criminal is much lower now. For the cost of a Netflix subscription, you can get access to all sorts of tools to do all sorts of bad things that are all AI created.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's unbelievable. So what is on your horizon? What do you have going? What do you have coming up?
Well, I'm starting a new podcast. So I will say my podcast career has been adventurous to be kind. I think I've started and stopped 5 different podcasts for a variety of reasons. I'm bad at marketing it, right? I don't have the big cybercrime junkies backbone to market my stuff and get people interested.
I've got Kylie and a couple other people.
That's more than I got. I got Darren. So. Got Darren in his desk. So like the Cyber Guy podcast kind of comes and goes periodically. And then the Cyber News one I did for a year and a half, but it never really moved anywhere. And I had people who liked it, but it turned out to be, I didn't have the time. And especially when I left my other job to become an entrepreneur or solopreneur or whatever, things got a little busier. I did a podcast with a partner of mine for a while, but then he had to take another job and he hadn't had the time and we weren't getting any traction on that one. And whatever. So I'm starting a new podcast, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, with Scott Augenbaum, based on his book, The Secret to Cybersecurity. So we're going to basically break down his book.
The 4 Truths?
The four truths are part of his book. His book is The Secret to Cybersecurity. Right. And the 4 truths are within there. So we're going to break this book down into sections, and it may include
that's good.
In this section, we're talking about, what's the story that led to this discussion, talk about a case that was related to it, maybe bring someone to talk about it. It's going to be a host of different things. I actually purchased a new podcasting platform for myself, and I'm giving him my old one. So I have a Rodecaster Pro 2. I'm giving him my old Rodecaster Pro 1.
Fantastic.
He's not very technically oriented, so as long as he can plug in a microphone, he should be good.
That's all he needs. That's all he needs. I used my Rodecaster Pro 2.
Yep.
Kept dying on me. It kept glitching and stuff. So I got the Duo. Because I replaced it like twice, and I was talking to my wife. I'm like, this thing's freaking. I'm going to try the Duo because I don't need 8 tracks. I don't have like 15 people in here.
Sure,
I'll just get the Duo, and the Duo's worked great.
So
it does everything that the other one does. So I love it.
I did purchase these little wireless things because when I do a bunch of news hits for Fox. I did Fox News this morning and Newsmax. Some of them don't like the big microphone in my face. So I got the little wireless Pro with the lavalier.
Me too.
But it doesn't sound good. I don't like the sound. Do you like the sound?
There is a way. This is more of a behind the scenes, but I will tell you, I have been trying. There is a way, at least on the Rode site, it says you can have the Afex software on this, like on your phone. If you do it on your phone, I can't figure out how to do it because and then you can have Big Bottom and the other audio aspects on it. And it's supposed to be really good. I have been trying to figure it out. It sounds okay. It amplifies it, but it doesn't. It doesn't have the.
It's echoey
of the.
For me, there's an echo. There's
Correct.
a little bit of a
I agree.
background noise echo. Not that I don't get from this mic. This mic is great.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yeah, that's the challenge I have. Like I'm not able to get it to do the things that my Rodecaster does.
Yes.
And that's what I want to do. Even if I have to connect it to a laptop or something, I want it to be able to do that.
So your doesn't connect to your Duo? Does it?
It will.
Okay.
It will. Yeah, it will. I guess I could do that.
Yeah. So I've connected it to my.
I was just trying to connect it to an iPhone and do things elsewhere, right?
Okay.
Away from the Duo. This will work with the Duo, no problem. I've done that. And then and then you control the sound through the Duo.
Yeah, it still doesn't sound good for me
fine.
though. It still doesn't. I still don't like the sound. It still sounds too echoish for me.
Okay.
But I'm very picky from a sound perspective. I used to be a radio DJ, so sound is I'm very particular to that.
Absolutely. But I'm trying to get this to work with an iPhone and have some of the effects from the
cool.
Duo. And if I can do that, I will send that to you. Because
if you find that out, that'd be great. Because
that's what I'm trying to figure out. It says it's supposed to do it, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing what you're saying, but it's
because I got the
and I'm about to throw the thing through the wall because I'm like, it's Saturday, and I've spent 5 hours on this thing, and I'm like, can you please work? And I'm going through. I'm like, what step am I missing? So anyway, if Rode is listening, like, please reach out to us. Like, we obviously like your products, but
sponsor the Cyber Junkies podcast.
Please do that. We're really trying to get this going. So that's great, man. And let's end with talking about your book. So walk us through who the book is for. I read it, and when I first got it, when you and I met a couple times ago, I told you I liked it because it was very practical. It was very understandable. It was written almost for non-technical people it explains browser extensions, what the risk there with just, everybody's just using Chrome. Like, what are the concerns? It was good.
Well, thank you. And it's designed for people who are not technical. Like if you're a cybersecurity person, this is not the book for you. Don't now buy it. But buy it for your mother and for your brother who is not a cyber person, who has a teenager, because there's a section in there on protecting teens and seniors. And it's designed for people who just don't know what to do, how to get from point. And again, it's the teacher in me. Like, how do I teach this to people and make it sensible? Every chapter starts with an FBI story of some way, shape, or form to kind of drive why I'm talking about this particular section. And I self-published it. So, I mean, there's spelling errors and there's all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't change the point at all.
Nobody will even notice.
Right, exactly. And so, and so it's.
And this was done in pre-AI, I will say.
No, it was done. It was done at the beginning of the AI. Really? I actually went through a course that helped you use AI to develop some stuff. So it's all my own thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But some of it's might be structured from AI from that perspective. In other words, like I may say, here's two paragraphs. You create me a couple extra sentences on this. So there's some of that in there. I'll be honest.
Oh, that's fine.
I still edited it all. I didn't just dump it and say, good
Still
to go.
Yours. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And it would take like that particular course had some interesting AI modules. Like, here's who's the story? Who's the story for? Who's in it? What's the point? What'd you learn? And it created the story. So
that's good.
There was some of that. And then I would go through and edit.
That might be why it reads well, because it does. It flows very well.
And I would say if I had Claude today versus ChatGPT, it would probably
be better.
Read better. Yeah.
It'd be better. Like, that's what you and I were talking before we went on air. And Claude, I use it the same way you do. I use ChatGPT for deep research to really understand a problem, have all the references and the resources. But Claude's writing, and part of it is because when you train Claude in samples of your human writing, and the cadence, like when we say that, when people say, hey, it sounds like AI, I'm not just talking about the red flags, like in this digital age, or the uncomfortable truth, or here's the kicker. Whenever I see that on LinkedIn or wherever, I'm like, stop using AI. Like,
or there's an M dash. There's an M dash.
Yeah,
in
the M dash, right? Like,
yeah,
we know that's AI. But what I mean by it being less AI and why Claude is so good is the structure of the paragraphs. Like, humans write with different length sentences. Some short, some long, like it flows at different, it cuts and paces and it builds drama and all of that. And AI doesn't. AI is like, here's the data, here you go. And it's all even sentences and like that. You're like, that's AI that's writing that, right? But Claude doesn't. Like, Claude, so long as you prompt it correctly and you train it on your voice and your samples and everything else, then it'll give you an initial draft that at least gets us 80% of the way there. Like, it's like, I still always have a human in the loop and go through it, but it's like, it's really good. So
I will say one place I don't use AI, I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. So I've made a conscious effort. I'm not using AI for this. I may use it to say, find me some stories, but I do not, I do not put AI sentences in my newsletter. That's the one thing I'm focused. And that's why it's usually short. Cause I'm like, no one wants to hear me write these. I mean, I look at newsletters, and if they're real long, I'm like, is there a shorter way for this to
I
get
make
to?
mine very short, and I just make them very like relevant to what's in the news or what stories are going on, and just give a different take. Mine is usually sarcastic. Like, I'm
That's
like,
me too.
what?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want sarcasm and humor.
Can I rant? Is there something I can rant on?
Exactly. That's how because that's what we really want to hear, right? Like, I'm like, this is kind of,